I'm going to start with a story and tell you the punchline at the end of my talk, because it's kind of an interesting story, right? You may have heard it before, so if you have, don't tell anyone the answer, yeah? So there were two brothers, Tom and Jerry, and they wanted to have a race to cut down as many trees as possible. Maybe not environmentally friendly, but back in the day, back in Canada. Anyway, so they were chopping away at trees, Tom and Jerry. And so they were going at it from like 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m., right? Just chopping away. And Tom said, I'm going to work really hard. I'm just going to keep chopping away. Like he's Canadian, he can be wearing jeans, the red and black checkered shirt, what I'm talking about? So they're chopping away, and Tom says, I'm going to work from 9 to 5, it's 8 hours, I'm going to chop lots and lots of logs, and no breaks. And so he started at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and it was piling up. And then Jerry on the other side, he was also chopping away, but every hour he would stop for 5 minutes, and he'd come back. But Tom could never work out what Jerry was doing for those 5 minutes. He was doing something special, right? And by the end of the day, they looked at the two logs, and actually, Jerry had about 50% more logs than Tom had, right? And Tom asked Jerry, why did this happen? So I'm going to stop there and tell you the story at the end, because it relates to this, right? So anyway, that's the story. Number two, a bit about myself. I'm going to keep you in suspense now. So I started my career with a very cool Japanese company. My first job was to test drive cars. I did marketing for Toyota, and I was driving up hills and down hills and launching every new car every 3 months. So it's a really awesome job. Then my boss at the time said, hey, there's this thing called the internet. Do you want to go and do it? And I said, yeah, okay, I can do it, right? And so I got moved into digital, and it's so interesting because back then, everyone was building websites which is kind of static pages. And the guy said, I want to do something different. I want to build this website where you press a button and all the data in the database comes together and it appears in real time, right? Just like on-the-fly pages. This is way back in the beginning of the internet. And there's no technology that can do this back then, right? And so we went to the university and we worked with Steve Jobs' Next Web Objects, the stuff that's now iOS, yeah? And we created this relational database that was way ahead of its time, right? It would on the fly create databases. What that meant was, instead of building 50 different pages, you just entered in all the data, press a button, bang, here comes the car. And then later on we were selling it, right? So then my second job was with Air New Zealand, and they said to me, hey, we had this brochureware site, but we think online travel is going to be really, really big. Can you come along and, make us into an e-commerce site? And so yeah, I did that. I brought in the technology, built the booking engine, launched it in about 25 different countries, learned how to sell stuff in England and America and Japan and China, just all the online space. And travel at the time was ahead of its time. It's the easiest thing to sell actually online, if you really think about it, because you don't have to touch it, taste it, feel it. You just buy it and then you just turn up and do it, right? Then after that, I met this girl in university, and she was from Hong Kong. She said, hey, I've always wanted to go to Hong Kong. Will you come with me? And I said, okay. Got married, and came here in 01. And we thought, 2 years, and then we're back, right? I've been here since. And so she got involved in this electronic bond trading platform, which was about to build an e-bond trading platform across APAC. So that was kind of interesting. So I got involved with that. I did a whole bunch of feasibility studies on how to enter a particular market. Not that I had nothing about banking and investment banking, but I knew about digital. I knew how to market entry strategies. Then after that, Travelocity came along and said, hey, we want to bring online travel, American style, to Asia. This was like 10 years ago. And so I went down to Singapore, launched it there, became really big, came here and had a lot of fun doing it again. Then after that, I said, I always wanted to work in hotels. And Langham said, hey, come join us and run our global e-commerce. So I did the same thing. And then 3 years after that, I joined Groupon, right? So I've always kind of done really interesting jobs, and I've been at the right place at the right time, and I think there's a master plan about all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of my background. The second thing is, so how did I get involved with Phatrice? I've been studying startups for a while, and I realized there's 3 really important things, right, that affect the success of a startup. And the other reason I went to Groupon was to go and meet all the different country leaders who started up the business to understand whether they were smart or just lucky, All right? And the answer is, some of them are smart, some of them are lucky, like really lucky. But the ones that have lasted, I've learned a lot. I've really learned a lot about how you start up a business, how you catch a wave and just see it crescendo and take off. And the three things I've worked out, which I think are applicable, is timing, treasure, and talent. Right? So timing, everyone kind of knows. If you bring a product to market at the wrong time, it just doesn't work. Right? And I think Phatrice is on a bit of a wave in terms of that. Right? Like if you did this, I don't know, 100 years ago, very difficult, especially with no PC, right? But the whole concept of catching a wave, I think the timing is right. The next thing is your treasure. How good is what they're doing? How good is the platform? How good is the supply? How good is the demand? How good is that kind of stuff, right? And based on the turnout here and the vision from Anthony and the team, I can really see they're really passionate. You can tell when you go beyond surface. There's a whole bunch of guys that pitch ideas to me all the time. But then the next level down is, do you really believe in this stuff? And belief is, I think, what's going to carry you through, right? And the last bit is your talent, which is the people involved, right? And most startups, depending on the success of the original founder, how passionate are they? What's the core belief that drives it through? And I was having coffee with Anthony, and I remember 6 months ago we had this first conversation. We were in a restaurant, and I kept pushing them on why is your business? And they couldn't really get there, I think, until 2 days ago when I sat with them, and he said, I want to create something that's going to change the world. Okay? It's as simple as that. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to create this website that's going to connect all these people who are environmentally, socially, and ecologically friendly products and stuff. I'm saying it wrong. But the core bit is about he wants to change the world, and this is how he wants to do it. Now the cool thing about that is, if you have a core base of why you want to do it, about changing the world, how you actually do it can change over time. For now, it could be digital. In 6 months' time, it's probably going to be mobile. In 9 months' time, it's going to be wearable, right? So what you do will change, but at the very core, if you really believe you want to change the world, that's exciting. And I think that's why a lot of people are in this room, right? They want to be part of something that changes the world. And that's really an exciting bit. So that's intro to me, intro to the thing. And so the answer to the story about why the guy was chopping away, Jerry, right? Jerry said, do you know what I did? For every 5 minutes that I walked away, what I did was I sharpened my axe. And so how it relates to this is, I think this is an axe sharpening story, right? A lot of people have been trying to do the same thing in different ways, but I think if you sharpen the axe in the right way, it could happen really well. Thank you.